Good evening, sports fans. I'm Zach Akers alongside Denny May, and welcome into our first official episode of the coaches version of Courtside. And we've got a special guest with us tonight, and that's Belfry head boys coach Brent Perry. But before we get into that, Denny Paul, we've got some stories to talk about because basketball season got underway Monday night, and we were treated to a high-powered Pikeville offense and defense, and a team that might have jumped out as a possible front runner or up in that top class for region championship contender on the girls' side.
Well, we were at TW Oliver last night, and Coach Denise Campbell and her club looked tremendous. They were playing pressure basketball, which I love, and they were scoring early and often.
They were.
And that thing ended up 45-12 at the half, and then we were into a running clock. And so, a tremendous start to the season. We were on hand for that, and we were courtside.
We were,
as we like to say.
Yeah, Kylie Alvin notched in nearly triple double. I mean, stuffing the stat sheet all night: assists, rebounds, steals as well. I think she ended up with 3 steals on top of her assists and rebounds. Nicole Lynn, our U.S. Army Be All You Can Be defensive player of the game last night, 18 points, multitude of deflections. I think she had 4 or 5 steals herself last night.
Mm-hmm.
Kat Walters in double figures as well with 10. So I think if you're Coach Campbell, you've got to really like what you see there.
Well, and talking with Coach Campbell, the real star of the game last night, besides those 3 young ladies that got into double figures, was their defense.
Yeah.
And they were really good defensively last year, and I see nothing that's going to change about that. Maybe they're just going to extend the floor a little more. And we talked about it at length last night. If you're going to win this region, or if you're going to challenge Johnson Central to win this region, you have to be able to play equal to the speed of the game that they play. And we saw some really good signs of that last night with Pikeville's girls.
We did indeed. And, moving on down the girls' scoreboard, Coach Brandon Kidd got a big opening win last night as Prestonsburg took down Morgan County at home by a score of 52-38. Good win for Coach Kidd. Did a 16th region win, out-of-region win. Nice way to start. See a little different opponent that you won't be seeing all year long, and nice win for the Lady Blackcats.
Of course, we talked about this as well. Coach Kidd's one of our favorites.
Yeah.
He's the principal down there at Prestonsburg now, doing all kinds of duty, and he gets it done on the hoop, on the hardwood last night. Courtside, 52-38 was the final in that one, and we had some boys games too as well.
And you look at Pike Central. Al Holland gets his first win as the head coach of Pike County Central. They beat Wesley Christian. Private school down in Allen, for those that aren't familiar. Big game from Owen Bowman, 23 points, Will Rowe with 20, and Zach Thacker with 15. I mean, that was a fun game to watch. I saw some highlights from it, saw some recap, and, 2 guys scoring 20-plus against a very athletic, up-and-running team like Wesley Christian, as they always have. Coach Al Holland, I'm sure, feeling pretty good right now. Through one game in his Pike Central team.
Well, Coach Holland knows a thing or two about winning basketball games, and so I fully expect that 60th to be a very, very tight race this year. As Belfry, Phelps, Pike Central, all are going to have good teams. And looking on down that list, we've looked at Johnson Central. We know the firepower they had, and they put 78 up on the board at Lewis County last night. Out of a region game, went up to the 16th and played at Lewis County. They won 78.
Not a short trip
53.
Either.
No, it's not a short trip.
Moving on down, Lawrence County, they went to the 16th region as well. They took on the Morgan County boys, won that game by 15 by a score of 79-64. Morgan County traditionally has some talent on the basketball court. Coach Matthew Perry coming into this region from Morgan County, and Lawrence County getting it done. And, Chandler Thompson, he's got a squad again this year.
Zach, I love the way Lawrence County played last year, particularly down the stretch. The pressure they put on the rim with their back cuts and their constant movement and ball movement, and then their ability to rebound the basketball on the offensive side of things really makes them very difficult. And they start right where they left off, put 79 on the board at Morgan County. And then we watched a game there was a game on late last night, through some other media outlets. We were able to see Knott County and Shelby Valley go head-to-head up at Shelby Valley, and what a game that was.
Yeah, talk about game of the night probably for the region. Knott County won that one 65-61. Shelby Valley they got within 3 points, had to foul with a couple seconds on the board, 64-61. Knott County made a free throw, ball game was over. But Coach Matthew Taylor, exactly what we saw in the last year, all gas, no brakes for that Shelby Valley team. And with Brady Johnson, we saw he's as good as advertised, still improving from last year, and really excited to watch him play this year.
And Shelby Valley's they've got people that can score the ball.
They do.
One of the things that they're going to have to correct, as I saw it last night, is their ability to rebound the basketball.
Yeah.
It hurt them in a couple of key places last night. They gave up a couple of offensive rebounds, but other than that, they look good. And man, Brady Johnson has turned himself into a tremendous player. Maybe one of those guys that we would be talking about at the end as player of the year in the 15th region. And, he had 23 points and 11 rebounds, and he started out with a thunderous dunk. It was just an exciting game last night. And, Knott County has a new coach. He's not new to Knott County. He was coach at Cordia back when I was coaching at Eastridge, and he was over in Breathitt County and won the region over there last year. And Coach Honeycutt, Coach Honeycutt's a good friend of mine, Jeff Honeycutt, and he comes away with his first win there at Knott County. I'm sure he's very pleased and smiling ear to ear today as he works in the administration there at Knott County. So, a great start to the season. Exciting. We've got a lot of games coming up.
Yeah.
And, of course, a big game that we got later in the week, looking at Knott County Central and Pikeville boys over at Knott County Central. That should be a dandy.
It should be. And, that you talked about Drew Little, Connor Napier, the names go on for Knott Central. They've got a squad this year. Knott Central kind of hadn't been where Knott Central had traditionally been for a few years. Coach Honeycutt's got them right back in the mix, it looks like, after a big win at Shelby Valley last night. And I think they're really going to be tested this Thursday as Pikeville comes to town.
And, Zach, this is one of the things we're going to do throughout the year. We're going to highlight and preview some of the games that are coming up. And we're going to pick a player or two under our Pick to Click segment. And so I'm going to let you go first, and you tell me who's going to click for the Knott County Patriots on Thursday night.
Knott County Patriots, mine goes to Connor Napier. I mentioned him during, when we were talking about the Knott Central Shelby Valley game. Just an incredible athlete, a senior leader for the Patriots. Saw him back during football season, just a really athletic kid, and get up and run. And I think that'll be a huge factor playing a guard-heavy Pikeville team.
Well, he plays so hard, as does their team. And they have a freshman that caught my eye last night, a young man by the name of Drew Little. Yeah. So that's my pick to click on Thursday night against the Pikeville Panthers. Now, we're going to turn our attention to Coach Elisha Justice and his team. Who is your pick to click in this game, the opening game of the season for the Pikeville Panther boys?
I'll go with my preseason player of the year pick for the 59th district, and that's Carter Parsons. He exploded for 22 points against Elliott County back at the Junior Newsom Panorama on Saturday down at Betsy Lane. Jim, he knows pretty well, and he picked right up where he left off. And I look for him to roll into Hindman and put on a show for Coach Justice.
Well, I'm a self-proclaimed hoop junkie, and I caught some of that game. And one of the things that really impressed me about Carter Parsons is his basketball IQ. Yep. He's tremendous basketball IQ. But I'm going to go with Jackson King, my player of the year candidate in the 59th. And that will do it for this segment of Scoreboard on Courtside.
And up next, we will have Coach Brent Perry and talk all things Belfry basketball and maybe a few fun questions along the way. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Kristen Mulcahy, and it's time to tech the halls with Appalachian Wireless. Starting today through December 31st. Get amazing holiday deals on the latest smartphones, 5G devices, accessories, and more. And that's not all. Christmas Cash is back. Every purchase or upgrade gets you entered in to win $500 in weekly cash. And one lucky winner, you'll take home the grand prize of $1,500. Celebrate big savings, gifts, and maybe even a big check. Visit us online or in one of our many retail locations, because we are you. We are Appalachian Wireless.
From the folks who bring the most fun and excitement at Hillbilly Days in April and
give away huge prizes at Halloween every October,
comes an all-new holiday celebration. Get ready for the Blizzard Bash, Saturday, December 6th from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Mountaintop Media Stage in downtown Pikeville.
You've got to bring the whole family for a brand new Christmas event filled with games, contests, prizes, and fun for all ages. Warm up with delicious hot chocolate from Tom's Coffee and enjoy a winter wonderland of activities.
All leading up to the Christmas parade at 6 o'clock. Bundle up, bring the kids, and celebrate the magic of the season.
At the very first Blizzard Bash, Saturday, December 6th from 4 to 6 at the Mountaintop Media Stage in downtown Pikeville.
And welcome back here on Courtside. I'm Zach Akers alongside Denny Palme and Belfry head coach Brent Perry. Coach Perry, nice to have you here.
Thank you all for having me. Thank you all for having me. Y'all do a really good job. I was able to tune in last week, so excited to be here.
For sure.
Well, we want to thank you, first of all, for making the drive over on a snowy evening. And we know how coaching schedules are and that type of thing, so we really appreciate that.
No
And being our first guest here on Courtside, we just want to introduce you to our viewing audience here. Young man that's from Barberville, Kentucky, a native of Barberville. He was a tremendous high school player there, scored over 1,200 points. His senior year averaged 24.5 points a game, was the 51st District Player of the Year, All-Region player. And this is your second year at Belfry.
Yep.
So welcome, Coach.
Thank you. Thank you. Like I said, thank you all for having me.
And so, Coach is it's no stranger to many of our viewers. I'm an old Belfry guy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I graduated in 1984. That's about 10 years ago, I think.
We can tell people that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but there's never a time during the basketball season that I'm not checking that score book and the box score to see how things are going. And, one of the things that I've noticed just in the media and just the way you guys carry yourself now, I've noticed a big difference in the buzz around the program.
Yeah.
So would you like to talk about that?
Yeah,
some?
I mean, like that comes with, the players surrounding the program, and you put good people around you, and that goes back to, the administration in the school and, giving me the opportunity to, take over a program that wasn't kind of in the best spot when I got here, and taking a chance on me being a first-year head coach last year. And, first and foremost, like, it starts with your administration and the staff around you and the people you surround yourself with, when it comes to building a program. And it's not an easy task, and it's not an overnight task by any means. And it takes a lot of long nights and a lot of hard work. And, like I said, it wasn't easy. And, we're still, got a long way to go from where we want to be. But like you said, I think we're trending in the right direction.
I just see some of the things that you're, that you're doing. I see you taking your kids to church with James Justice, a former Belfry standout. He was one of the first big players that I remember as a youngster myself. He's a little bit older than me. James is a tremendous guy. And then the fact that you're bringing old players in, you're tying to the tradition of the program.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of success there in the old days. We expected to win when I played there. We expected to win the district. Every time we stepped on the floor, we expected to dominate the district. And that some people will say, well, that's an arrogant take on that, but it's there's something special about being a Belfry Pirate.
For sure.
And I just think you've done a good job up to this point of capturing that. Now, if you look at the program where it's been the last few years, you got your work cut out for you, and you've had your work cut out for you, but I can see positive signs. And one of the big positive signs I saw, last year was, there was 2 or 3 games that spoke to me. Perry Central game early in the season. And then the what I thought was the signature win last year is when you were able to beat Phelps in the middle of a 3-game set that you guys had. They got you twice, but you got them one time, and I thought that was a tremendous hump that you had to get over, because they have some good players over there in Tyler Weddington and some of those guys. And so I thought that was key. And then right at the end, I thought you played a very good game, had chances to win the game against Floyd Central in the play-in game. And so those, to me, are things that you can build on, building blocks. And then, so talk to me about where you're headed and how things are going.
Yeah, like
when
you look back on last year, like, it was definitely a year for growth, like, especially around our program. Like, we had some new faces that kind of joined us back, like obviously Brody Little. So it was a lot of, even the players that were there before, it was adapting to a system. And usually that takes around a year, maybe a year and a half to kind of get adapted. And I mean, last year in general was a hard year for everybody. Like, you look back on it, like, you had obviously the flood that happened. And we had a long layoff, and I'm sure other teams did too. So, like, I look back in last year, and it was a year for growth. It was a year of growth for everybody, especially me and the players around. But it was also a year to, adapt to a new system. So if you look back at our schedule last year and some of the games we were in, like, there was a ton of games that were decided by 3 or 4 possessions that we were right there. So you look going into this year, like, obviously you want to capitalize on that now. Like, we've had a year under our belt and a hard year to say the least, but like I said, I think everybody grew from it, including me, and we're excited to get this year going.
And growth is not always linear.
No, for sure.
You take a step ahead, you take a step back, and you've managed all those storms, I think, and done it quite well. And your team plays hard, and I appreciate that very much. And you talked about system.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you about system versus dudes. Okay, we all got to have some dudes, right?
Exactly,
we got to have some guys in the room that can play, right? If we're going to be successful. But how important is system to you? And how
system is everything. And I think organization and structure are two terms that I don't take lightly. Like I think, and that goes all the way down from how you scout, how you plan your practices, what you're doing on this day, what you're doing on the next day. Like I think system, and I've been fortunate enough to be under some really good head coaches to prepare me for this, but system and structure and how you organize things and your organization of your program is everything. And that, like I said, that starts at the top, and it works its way down the totem pole with everybody buying in. So and like I said, like Belfry's a special place, and so far in the year I've been here, like everybody has bought in. And like I said, it wasn't in a great spot when I got here, but we're trending in the right direction. And like I said, we still got a long way to go. We got a long way to go to where we want to be. We obviously want to be the last team standing when come March comes around, and that's a broad statement to say, but if you do the right things, on a daily basis, like you're going to get rewarded.
Well, and I think it starts with belief.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And we, kind of a segue into our next question, but at the same time talking about your system, you come with a history at Knox Central under Coach Patterson, Coach Mays at Montgomery County, but a large part of your experience comes from Griffin Elite AAU.
Sure.
How does that AAU circuit lead you into being able to build that system? And, the up-tempo game, I feel like, the game of basketball itself is becoming that more up-tempo style. How has that AAU experience helped you with a very athletic Belfry team that you've inherited and started to develop this year?
Well, I think AAU is very unique because it makes you adjust to things on the fly, kind of, because you don't get to, prepare for who you're about to play. You might play 3 games in one day, 2 games in one day, so you kind of have to adjust on the fly, and you have to learn to be a player's coach. You have to be able to connect with kids on a whole different level outside of having them prepare for a game that's a week out. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that helped me in the sense of like, being able to connect on a different level with players.
Right.
Because you have to have, that connection to be able to adjust to games on the fly. So definitely great for me the years I've been able to do it, and I've been able to do it with a great organization in Griffin Elite. That's ran by Coach Q, who's now the head coach at Paul Lawrence Dunbar. So, he's had a good thing going for, so many years, and I was thankful to be a part of it.
And we mentioned places you've been. Kind of who are your mentors that have got you to this point? Who's kind of your guiding light in the basketball world?
Yeah, so I was able to play under Coach Dinky Phipps, who's in Kentucky Basketball Hall of Fame. So Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame. So, he taught me. He was more of a kind of a father figure to me. So he's definitely one of them. And like I said, I stated before, like I've been super fortunate to be able to, coach under great coaches. Coach Tony Patterson at Knox Central. I was able to be under him. We made a great state tournament run, ended up running to a really good Ashland team that was head coached by Jason Mays, who I later, got to coach under at Montgomery County. So I've been a part of some really good teams. I've also been I've been a part of some really hard years too. So it ain't all cupcakes and sunshine all the time.
Right.
No,
So I'm saying,
exactly.
So you have to go through the depths to get to the highs. So and I've been able to be a part of some really good teams and some teams that you had to do a lot of teaching. So I'm thankful for everybody that I've been able to coach under, and they've put me in the position I am today. So I would 100% not be where I am without some of the guys I've been able to coach under.
And talking about system versus dudes, Coach Mays has been in the news this week.
Right.
He stepped down at Montgomery County. That's big news in the state of Kentucky basketball. And the one thing that we all know is you have to have players.
Yeah.
And the high school game has changed. Sure. It's transformed. And there's so many things that play in. But transfers have been part of our region for as long as I've been around.
Absolutely.
Okay, if you go all the way back to some of the regional champions when I played, and I played on 2 semifinal regional teams at Belfry that won 24 and 23 games. We had a good team. but there was transfers that year, those years, that made a difference, and you have to recognize that, and so sometimes things beyond our control happen, and I've known Coach Mays for a long time. I got acquainted with him at Georgetown, and so that's one of the things that's been in the news. But you have anything to say about all that?
It's a very unfortunate situation. And like when you and I hate it for Coach Mays and Coach Mays' family. They are phenomenal people. They are phenomenal people. They do things the right way. Obviously, you get kind of caught up in a little gray area sometimes, but Coach Mays does it the right way, and he builds a winning program, and that goes all the way down from youth league all the way up to his high school team. So it's a very unfortunate situation. Like I said, I hate it for him. I hate it for the players. But I'm super thankful for my time under him. And, I do think if I know anything about Coach Mays, he'll bounce back some way in some type of form. And
we certainly wish him the best on all of that. Yes.
And, I'll always be in his corner for sure.
Right. And talking about building programs, one of the things that I've noticed is you've put together a tremendous staff.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your staff right now. Those guys, I know all of them personally. And that's a great group of guys to be hanging out with every day.
Phenomenal people.
Yes.
And it's not only, it starts, them being great basketball coaches. They're phenomenal people in general. We have a ball. We have fun being able to be influences for these kids, and also teach them the game of basketball. And I wouldn't be nowhere where we are. Our team wouldn't be nowhere where we are without the dudes around us. And that goes for Coach Hurley, Coach Works, Coach Rigdon, and Coach Logan Copley. So we, it takes a haul. It takes a great group of men that are willing to be leaders and put kids first and do whatever it can possibly take to get the best out of each kid. And our staff does that, and I'm very thankful for them. And I'm very fortunate, to be able to, do what we do every day.
I usually always come back to some type of reference to the NBA because I'm like I said, I'm a self-proclaimed hoop junkie.
Yeah, Jokic, super fan, right?
Yes, and and what Reed Shepherd's been able to do has been phenomenal the last few weeks.
Yeah.
But talking about coaching, in the NBA, these guys have a coach for everything. I heard Brian Scalabrine today talking about the Boston Celtics have a dribbling coach.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me how these guys weave into that player development piece that is so vital to your program's growth.
Yeah. So I think it starts when you say player development. Like the first thing that comes to mind for me is Coach Cameron Works.
Yeah.
For one, he's young enough to still get out there and do
it.
But for two, he's really good at being able to kind of dissect kids and the areas they need growth in.
Yeah.
And that's a great quality of his. And that goes for Coach Hurley too. Like Coach Hurley is on the court with the pad almost every day, like getting the best out of these kids, trying to make them stronger, trying to make them more physical, be able to finish, different type of ways. And each coach has a role on our team, but like when you say player development, Coach Works is the first person that comes to mind for sure. And he has done great ever since we started back in the summer. Like we almost have at least 4 or 5 days a week we're doing some type of skill work. So and he leads that, and he's done a phenomenal job at that. And I think that you'll be able to see that in some of our dudes play this year.
Well, Coach Hurley still likes me in spite of the fact the way I talked to his dad all those years. He was a big time referee.
Yeah, I know.
And Jerry Hurley was great guy. Yeah. And so I was pretty hard on those officials, but Jerry's a good friend, and of course Sean's doing a great job for you there.
I said, each one of them, man.
Yeah,
they all bring something different.
Yeah.
And like I said, like I couldn't say enough. I could sit here and probably talk for hours about what they mean to us and our team and me personally. So I'm very thankful.
That's tremendous. And Aaron Rigdon.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of working with him for a whole year in a different capacity as a special education teacher in another role that I have. And he's just a tremendous fella, He knows a thing or two about players and developing players. His own son is a tremendous player here at UPike right now, and getting to watch him play and do his thing at the college level, it has been tremendous. And so those guys come to us by way of Mason County, and that's a hotbed for basketball, and certainly. But I just really impressed with you, and of course, Coach Thornsberry was with you last year, and he's moved over to the girls' side of things, and hopefully one of these days we'll be able to have him on and talk about his girls program. But you made great strides last year. We talked about that. And I'll just tell you a quick story. I'm a story guy. Years ago, Belfry's in their 100th year of basketball, and we want to celebrate that. And of course, I had a very great time as a player there for 4 years, and then I coached 8 years. I was the point guard on Raymond's very first team, Raymond Justice's very first team. He coached the freshmen, and we used to have a freshman team, a JV team, varsity team. Probably how's those levels look now at Belfry? Yeah.
Right. We actually it's funny you say that because we actually have a freshman JV game tomorrow at Perry Central. So I think, and we had this conversation as a team today at practice, be grateful that you are able to, we have enough guys in our program to be able to spread it out on 3 different levels. Yeah. I think that
absolutely
Coach Works and Coach Rigdon has made a whole different separate schedule outside of our varsity schedule that is just strictly freshman JV. So our freshman JV will play, 30, 35 games this season as well, outside of the ones they already played, with varsity. So.
And that speaks volumes to me because I'm a believer. I coached a lot of JV basketball. Okay, I'm a firm believer in, for your team to grow, you have to have someone to practice against.
For sure.
And I think, the times that I was able to get out and go to the state tournament with the team, and I was very fortunate. We had great dudes.
Yeah.
Right. But the times that we did that, we had good JV teams.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important, and then the other thing was that I was going to mention too is that as I started to tell the story and I got distracted, but years ago when Raymond, Randy, I'm talking about Raymond Justice and Randy Casey, who is now the head coach at Tennessee Wesleyan, doing a great job. When we were working together at Belfry for those 8 years, one of the things that we were able to do, we were very fortunate, we were able to get in the same room with the likes of Rick Pitino, Billy Donovan, Herb Sendek, Ralph Willard, and Tubby Smith.
Basketball minds.
Okay. And it was a weekend like no other. You would go in on Friday, you would watch practice. And Jamal Mashburn at that time, they were on the upcome. They hadn't won the national championship yet. And we would watch practice, and then we would go for a dinner break, and then they would take us downtown to what used to be called the Radisson's, now the Hilton. And they would take us in a room with an overhead projector to show you how long ago it was.
Yeah.
No computer screens, okay? But they would go with the overhead projector and teach us the parts of the games. And some of the things that we took away was player development.
Yeah.
And we had a tremendous group of players during that time, and they were able to listen. And that player development, that individual instruction, whatever you want to call it, Patino called it individual instruction, that was key for us, I thought. And so I'm sure that's something, like you said, Coach Works is taking care of. And, and so that's great to hear. And then, let's talk a little bit about your season that's coming up. You've got a great schedule, in my opinion. You've got a tremendous field coming in for your Mountain Schoolboy Classic. You're going to open the season with Harlan County. Harlan County is always good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how smart of it was an idea on my part to schedule Harlan County. It was just in the state championship game 2 years ago to open the year. But, it's how are you going to get better? So I think that'll be a tremendous start for us to kind of see where we are, right at the very beginning. So
very Belfry-esque. I mean, think about Coach Haywood. I mean, what was it, 2021? They went 0-5 and finished the season, was it 10-5? Won a state title. Or 9-5. I don't remember if they played a full 10-game season that year. Doesn't matter how you start, it matters how you finish. So
that's a great point, Zach.
And you see teams, you see it a lot more on the football side, but you see it on the basketball side too. You see a team like Pikeville on the football side of things, and Belfry as well. I mean, you have maybe a little bit of a rough start every now and then, but then come the end of the year, you play the best of the best, and you're ready for whatever punch is thrown at you, whether it's a right hook, uppercut, or whatever it may be. You're ready for it.
Sure.
So, and you also have something that's very near and dear to my heart is the Raymond Justice Classic coming up on February 7th, where you're going to play Prestonsburg and Harold Tackett. And so this is a great segue into my next question. How do you feel about the state of coaching apparel? This is a fun question in basketball in general.
Yeah, I think that it's definitely got a lot more loose and comfortable.
Yeah.
but I like to keep it as classy as possible. Me personally, I'm a polo guy. I'll do a vest.
Okay.
I've not worked my way to kind of the tie yet, but
okay.
that's definitely, I could definitely see myself doing that in the future, because I like to be comfortable, but I also I respect the game, and I respect, being able to be in this position. So,
not to foreshadow anything, but can I expect you to come out on Raymond Justice Classic Day in a Pat Riley suit with your hair slicked back?
Conversation,
huh?
Not too long ago about maybe something
special to honor him.
Special. So we'll see. But,
yeah. Not that, like I said, it's just a thought that came to my mind. We were all trying to look like Pat Riley back in the day, and Coach Justice was the sharp dressed coach of the state at that time. As a matter of fact, when we made it to the state tournament in '91 and played in Rupp Arena, played 90 in Louisville, played 92 in Louisville, 91 we played in Rupp, and there was an article about the way he dressed and how it mimicked Patino and the similarities between the two. So we had a lot of fun with that. And then, so Coach, I want to ask you you're also going to Gatlinburg's, which is a great tournament. That's always a fun time before Christmas. Then you got that big tournament. You got a great field coming into the Mountain School Book Classic. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that was kind of like coming in last year. Like I got a little late start at it last year, but that was one of going into the off season. I wanted to, get the Mountain School Board back. I remember when it was, and it still is, like a prestige tournament in the mountains. And you want great competition. You want to see good games, and that's what the fans want, and that's what you want to be able to put a good field together. So I was able to contact some coaches who I have formed relationships with. I'm excited about it. I truly am. And I'm grateful for the teams that are coming. So I'm excited about it. It's going to be a good field. It's going to be a lot of good games, and it's something we look forward to every year.
Excellent. So another fun question. I just want to poll the audience here. We're going to go a little GOAT discussion. The greatest of all time here. Okay, and of course, I have my thoughts on that, and I just want to hear your thoughts on best high school player in the state of Kentucky you've ever seen, best college player you've ever seen, and your obviously NBA GOAT.
It's a hard one.
Yeah, I'm going to say, and this might be a wild answer, but I was able to coach against him in the region championship game. I think one of the best high school players that I've ever seen is Reed Shepherd. I really do. I think that the way he was able to control the game on many different levels, there was no getting him off any type of balance. Like, he was always in control of what his team was doing. And it was hard to, scout against him that way, and it was hard to slow him down. And like I said, we were fortunate enough to pull away a win and have a state tournament appearance. But that cat's a different dude, man, and it's obviously showing now, like on the NBA level. And not too many kids that from this area get that opportunity, and he's making the most of it. So
he's one of the very few that I know of over my time. Obviously Todd May was drafted by the San Antonio Spurs back in the day. He averaged right at 50 points here at UPike, and it was called Pikeville College back then. But Todd May's one of the greatest players I've ever seen play in Kentucky's high school, and I know that predates you guys a little bit. But that you talk about Reed Shepherd. The one thing that I knew, he had some struggles when he went. He was number 3 pick, a lot of pressure, but he went to a defensive minded coach, and it was pretty clear that coach was holding the line, and he was going to say, you're going to get on the floor when you're able to guard. And, a lot of those NBA players were playing right through his chest. But this year, and the thing I knew in the back of my mind was that he's very athletic. He's an underrated athlete.
Super underrated.
Yes. Yeah. And so he can make those sneaky good defensive plays until he can learn to body. But I've noticed this year that young man is guarding on ball defense has improved tremendously. And so, Zach, who's your
high school?
High school, yeah.
I don't want to just take away from him, but I'd have to agree with your Reed Shepherd. Because I watched him play a lot. I went to school at EKU, got a chance to go down and watch him play a lot, being so close to the 13th region. Saw him play at Rupp. Saw a young man named Keegan Moritz maybe cross him over. That was still one of my favorite high school basketball memories ever. But you talk about dominant players kind of going aside from Reed. Go to the girls' side of things. Whitney Creech.
Yeah.
You mentioned Todd May, someone who averaged 40+ points a game. What a player! I mean,
she is.
I mean, she was so much fun to watch when she was at Jenkins. I mean,
and she's gone on. She's coach at Western Kentucky.
She was. I got to go watch her. I saw her play several times throughout high school, and she graduated, I think, same year, 2016, from Jenkins. Got to watch her play in the region championship game at Powell County. They played Leslie County. It was a fun game to watch, and it was just like as soon as she turned it on, you might as well just forget about stopping her. And as far as dominant, Reed can take over a game, obviously, but as far as one player just can dominate anybody, I've heard about Todd May my whole life. That's one player that puts me in the mind of someone to just come in, take over the game, do whatever they want to do, wherever they're at.
I played against Todd May. I was a sophomore when he was a senior, 1982, and I'd never seen a basketball player that good at that size. You just didn't see that much size. We'd have 6'4", 6'5" guy every once in a while at Belfry. Some other guys in Pike County here, Irvin Stett. He averaged over 50 points a game at Phelps. And then you had J.J. Hilton, of course, who's Belfry's all-time leading scorer at 3,000 points. We had a guy named Todd Conley up at Elkhorn City, also scored 3,000 points. And then Elisha Justice. I mean, he played for Patino at Louisville. Quick story about Elisha. Patino refers to him as Bullet because he's so daggone fast. And so, I got to talk to Rick Patino about that at one point, and it was tremendous just to hear him, the admiration he had for that young man. And he was not even playing basketball yet. I think he was hurt at UPike and was in street clothes, and UPike went back to play an exhibition game, and he received a standing ovation from the Louisville crowd. And so that speaks volumes about that young man's ability, and one of the best coaches. And then Ian Works. I mean, you mentioned I was in the audience of that game. I'm a state tournament goer. I don't miss the state tournament if I can help. Been blessed to be able to do that with my family. That Ian Works put one of the greatest moves I've ever seen in the state tournament on. O.J. Mayo, another great state tournament player. Of course, he's not from Pike County, but
Eastern Kentucky, Rose Hill Christian, way back in the day.
Yes, and so let's go to the college level now. Let's talk about greatest college player. Zach,
this outdates us. Almost outdates Larry Bird. I'm gonna go with Larry Bird.
Larry Bird
on the college level.
Okay.
You hear French Lick, Indiana. I mean, where would they be without Larry Bird? I mean,
and I'll jump over here, and we'll leave it for you for last. I'll jump over and say his '86 teammate Bill Walton was the greatest college player per the numbers. Okay. What about you? Greatest college player?
I don't know about the greatest, but one of my favorites to watch that I grew up on, and he obviously left his stamp on the college game, is J.J. Redick.
J.J.
I was a
Reddick.
big J.J. Reddick guy.
And he's doing a tremendous job with the Lakers
right
now.
Lakers now too.
Coaching your Lakers.
I'm a big Lakers
my
guy.
goodness! Now I'm outnumbered. Randy Casey. We got Brent Perry, Laker guy. Okay, all right. So
big Lakers guy. He's doing a great job. So.
I am a huge fan of Hillbilly Kobe, though.
Oh yeah,
I really am. Austin Reeves, yes, huge fan, and Luka, of course. But and then we get to the pro level, and I'll start it out. Okay, this time I'll be fair. Jordan is where it begins and ends with me, and the reason I'll give you the reason, and LeBron's tremendous. There's no question about it. But there's a killer instinct inside of Jordan. That I see, or I did see all those years that he played. And he just, for me, that's where it begins and ends. Now, there's some other greats. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is another. LeBron, obviously. We can go on and on. Bill Russell. There's all kinds of different levels of greats. That's the great thing about our game. Right. What do you have? My
go is kind of similar. Like when you talk about killer instinct, my go, I always grew up on was Kobe.
Okay.
I was a big Kobe Bryant guy.
Laker, man.
Yeah, I kind of think that him and Jordan had same similarities. Obviously, different records and all that, different finals records and stuff like that. But I think they kind of had that same instinct. So. And
Kobe had tremendous footwork.
Yeah.
His footwork was like no other, and his 81-point game was just tremendous. Who do you have?
I'll have to go with Jordan.
Goat finish here.
Jordan as well.
Jordan, okay.
Like you said, his killer instinct.
Zach and I don't agree on much.
We don't. Never got to watch, and you mentioned Kobe. I mean, killer instinct again. I mean, that's who I grew up watching. That's who I grew up absolutely despising. Because
Really?
I was a Rajon Rondo fan.
Yeah.
I loved Rondo was my first college player. I just absolutely loved.
He was a Laker
then
there for a minute.
he
Won a
was.
title.
I saw a young man named Rondo that had a good game
Pierre
last
Rondo.
night. Yes,
He's a
yeah.
good player. I've got to watch him like
In
a
AAU.
couple times
Yeah.
this summer. I got to watch him a little bit. He's, I mean, similar. I mean, just like his dad. Like they just.
He's at North Oldham.
Yeah.
North Oldham, yeah.
You mentioned the killer instinct of Michael Jordan, and then just the aura of Michael Jordan. I saw Michael Jordan in a NASCAR race. He co-owns a team with Denny Hamlin now. You know who they've sent in for they're in the middle of a lawsuit with NASCAR right now. Who they've sent in as their representative? Michael Jordan. You've got dozens of other guys.
Gotta listen.
Just like, and
That's probably the guy you.
It's in Charlotte.
As a matter of fact,
Charlotte.
he's on TV
So,
tonight on Peacock, with the new coverage in the NBA.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about the NBA, I'm going to segue into our next question. 35-second shot clock coming.
Yeah.
You're probably able to see some of the results of that at the Zip Zone. You probably saw some film or whatever. What's your thoughts, Coach?
I was 100% for it. I think we're actually a couple years late. Honestly, I really do.
I agree, and I didn't really notice it until, of course, follow my son playing at Asbury with the shot clock, and then we'd come home and watch a high school game, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is painfully slow.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think that's where the game's headed.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to hear you say that. What was your thoughts on 35-second shot clock?
I think it's too late. I mean, I think back, and there's a game I think about often, and it was one of the best high school games I've ever watched. Just when I was in high school, it was a bitter rivalry. Betsy Lane, South Floyd. South Floyd no longer in existence. It was at the Dome. One of my favorite gyms. I'm not partial or anything, being a Betsy Lane graduate, but one of the best gyms in the state. It was a game story in the '80s, and it went into double overtime. I think it was double. I don't think there were more than 10 points scored by either team in overtime, but including both of them. And because people were in foul trouble, and they just played keep away, and nobody would guard each other. And I'm just like, what fun is this? You take a classic basketball game and turn it into game keep away.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the flow will be the flow of the game just in general will be so much better. I think when we touched on it earlier, but you talk about structure, like that's when that kind of comes into play. Like how structured are you? What's the timing of how you can get into things and be fluid? So I think the flow will be better.
You show me a disciplined team, I'll show you a team that's going to do well in the postseason.
For sure.
That's what you got to build toward that, in my opinion.
Tony Bennett's Virginia teams. I mean, you can play the shot clock and still slow it down very much.
Yep.
I mean, that's who comes to mind first for me, on the college level that did it so well for so long, won a national title, and, it came back to bite them against UMBC or University of Maryland, Baltimore County. No one ever heard of them before they upset number one.
That's for
but,
sure.
It can come back to bite you, but, you can still play that way if that's your style. You can slow things down just as much. You can't hold the ball for a full minute. But you can still play that style.
I'm a big fan of it. I think it's a very much needed change in our game at the high school level, and so Coach, if a little fun question here, if I were to say to you, what does 6'7" mean to you? I mean, you work with young people all the time. If I hear 6'7", what do you what does that?
It's getting to the point now where I'll say something along the lines of, I'll say, give me 6-7 minutes on the clock, and everybody's starting to look at you, start laughing. I'm like, what? I'm lost here.
Right.
But I'm to the point now where I'm just accepting it. It's funny, and I'm going with the flow.
Absolutely. So when they say 6'7" to me, I'm thinking big guy. I finally get one. I finally got a guy I can throw it up to. Does it make a difference when you play with a guy you can throw it up to?
Sure.
Yeah, it makes the game easier, and so we've had a few experiences with guys like that, but not very many. And so certainly that I just thought that was a fun question anyway. And so if I'm going to give you a Belfry basketball history quiz here. Okay. Yeah. So if I said Mutt Varney to you, would you be able to?
Yeah. We're actually playing. I don't know if you know this. The Mutt Varney Classic is being held. It's going to be held at Berea College.
At Berea College
this season. We are playing Scott County High School.
Wow, man, that puts chills on me.
Yeah, they have kind of put together. His family has put it together. I've got
Derek.
known phenomenal people. They have put something together, kind of wanting to honor him and try to get every team or every school that he was kind of ever involved with in one tournament. And it was actually Coach Mays that called me back this summer and kind of told me that they were trying to structure that together. If we would be interested, and I said no question. some kind of sense.
So that's Georgetown connection, and we're talking about Mutt Varney. He's one of the pioneers of Belfry basketball. Was a scoring leader in the 50s, and he was a very best friends with my uncle Ron, who coached football at Belfry years and years ago with Coach Roddy, and so that is just tremendous that we're going to honor that person in that way, because how many guys do you know that can coach basketball in the same town for 20 years and then win the mayor's race? I mean, that's a feat in and of itself when you think it's concept, isn't it?
I think
okay,
just him and Bill Mike Runyon are the only, I think that might be the only ones that can claim that.
How about Chuck Johnson? Dr.
Chuck Johnson has been, a phenomenal human being to me since I've been here.
Yeah.
He was one of the first people I actually got to meet when I come down here, actually to interview for the job. So he has been unbelievable, person in my life since I've been here. And, thankful for all he does.
1978
he
graduate.
So much to, Belfry athletics in general. So, to have him, his support around our program is awesome. So.
Yeah, I have some other guys on here. Gary Smith. Have you met Dr. Gary Smith?
Smith? That's my guy.
Okay.
And if he gets to watch this, he knows it's my guy. So
yeah. He's a Laker guy too, man. Yeah. It's another Laker. I'm telling you, I'm getting outnumbered. Yeah.
Gary's the person I'll call and ask him, mentor questions, and we've actually sat down a couple times and been able to break down a little film and get his thoughts, and very, very important person to kind of have in my corner. And I'm thankful for the friendship I have.
Well, certainly, just one of those tremendous community people. And I tell you what, the cat could play. He signed with Morehead State. Yes,
that's what I've heard.
He had a night over at Feds Creek in the old gym. I think he had 52 that night, and so he could really play the game. And of course, J.J. Hilton is another. I don't know if you've become acquainted with J.J. J.J.'s tremendous young man, great family, and then of course Sean Hager that coaches football down at Prestonsburg. Another tremendous player during that run that we had in 90, 91, 92, 93. And so, anytime you get to listing folks, you leave some out, or maybe I might pick one that you don't know, but some other folks that were tremendous athletes and tremendous basketball players, Rick Kestner, Sam Baker, Randy Runyon, who played at Georgia, and I'm leaving people out, Jonathan Wright,
I seen a picture
Mark
of Jonathan
Williamson.
Somebody showed me that I posted on social media or something. He was tearing the rim off at the school board, or at the school board at the field house.
Right.
I don't remember the game, but he was tearing the rim off at the field house one night. So.
You have a guy like Barry Crum, who's got a young man. His son's coming up, going to be a good player. In Barron Crum, and then you just go on and on. I played with a guy named Kenny Blackburn. That's a quiet figure, but a very tremendous basketball player. And then Glenn Jude, who still, I think, holds the record for free throw percentage at 92%. And so just some fun things and to talk about. Now I'm going to say, all right, Coach Perry has to be the most eligible bachelor in the 15th region coaching fraternity. No question about it. I got him smiling now.
A few years younger.
Now
than most
I'm going to
too.
say this. I'm going to say this. If you do put that suit on February 7th to honor Coach Justice, you might just end up being not a bachelor here.
Well, I'm not single. My girlfriend's been great.
I know. I'm just messing with you. I'm messing with you. Yeah. I just had to go there, but and then if another little fun thing, and Coach Justice may kill me, but I'm going to go for it because we're going to have him on later in the year, hopefully be able to get him in, maybe have you back, and maybe get Randy Casey in. But we had a tremendous time working together, and there's a lot of funny things happen, a lot of cool things happen, and the thing was Belfry had never been to the Sweet 16, and we all wanted to go, as players. It was our dream to be able to do that, and then to be able to be on that staff in '90 when Sean Hager, Mark Williamson, Timmy Cancer, those guys, Stevie Staten. I mean, just on and on and on. There were so many players that contributed, even like a guy like Bobby Varney. I know you know Bobby, and Bobby's was a good coach and a tremendous player for us. Played a lot for me at the JV level, and I just love that young man and his family. But if I were to ask you the question, who do you think between me and Coach Casey has the best impersonation of Coach Justice.
Coach Casey might kill me, but I'm gonna give it to you.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it to you. Now, Randy might have Coach Casey might have a different opinion, but
Coach Casey has no talent other than coaching. He has no talent
Yeah.
whatsoever other than coaching. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. He's a very dear friend, one of my very best friends in the world. And we have a group text. We stay in contact. Coach Justice lives in Hindman, Kentucky, and I work all over this region now. But I see him quite a bit, and we'll just leave it till maybe we get him in here, and I may, I may have Coach Casey do that impersonation.
Just do a round table.
Yeah, we'll just do it. Yeah,
back and forth.
But then I may have to go to the hospital after that because Coach Justice is a tough guy,
Yeah.
So, Coach, it's been a pleasure, man. I am telling you, any final comments? Oh, I know what we hit. Talk about your players.
Yeah.
Talk about your players a little bit.
We got a great.
Yeah.
And I don't, obviously coaches will sit here and I could talk for hours
Sure.
about our team.
Yeah.
We got a great group of kids with great parents.
Mm-hmm.
Great parents, and they let us coach their kids hard. They support what we do. Like I said,
key aspect.
That's key, and that goes into building your program and establishing your culture. But when you talk about our players, like it starts with Carter Jude and Brody Little.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's our backcourt, and I'm biased, but I think that has the opportunity to be one of the best backcourts in the region. How we go, it starts kind of on the offensive end and defensive end with Brody.
Mm-hmm.
And Brody has kind of took his game to a whole nother level this summer. He works extremely hard. He put time in the weight room. That goes with Carter too. Carter Jude has gotten a ton stronger.
Mm-hmm.
He's gotten a step quicker, and really excited about those two. But
let me just say something. I saw a picture of Carter Jude the other day. May have been on your own website, and I thought that kid's done some work in the weight room. He looks stronger, and he is a young man that I expect to have a great year this year. I really do. And then I got to see a different side of Brody Little, and I coached him in the little All-Star game we had over here this past spring, and it was tremendous for me to be able to just to connect with those young men, because you go watch them play, you admire the hard work they put in, you see the growth. He's dunking the basketball, and doing things that he probably was hoping he was going to be able to do, but now he's realized those things. And so he had a great year last year. I thought 14.5 points a game, and Carter averaged 10. And then you have some other guys that I'm sure you want to mention.
We got Bryce Hagee, that's also a returnee.
Mm-hmm.
I think he may be our best on-ball defender.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really do. Like he's a long kid. Establishes himself defensively,
Mm-hmm.
and he's willing to do whatever the task is at hand for him. Like he will do whatever is asked. Super coachable kid. Obviously, his dad, Coach Hagee, comes from a great family. Like super coachable. Will do whatever is asked. We got Peyton Owens. That was originally a Belfry kid that transferred from Pike Central, who I would adopt tomorrow. I really would. He is a phenomenal human being, and he's exactly what our locker room needed on multiple levels. And we had this conversation the other day. We had individual player meetings at the start of the season, and one of the things I said to him is like, our season ain't even started yet, but I kind of already dread the last game, because I would love to be able to coach that kid for multiple years ahead. I mean, he's a phenomenal kid, and he's a phenomenal basketball player. We also got Colton Young that come from Pike Central, who's an absolute bruiser, who is another kid that put a ton of work in the weight room, got a ton stronger. I expect him to have a really big year. Bo Williams, son of Coach Cliff Williams at UPike for UPike Women. Phenomenal IQ, shoots it at a really, really high clip. 6'6". He also got a ton stronger. That was one of the emphasis, for him coming into the season, is he needed to get a little stronger and put on a little muscle, which he did. We got some young guys. Also, I forgot to mention Logan Barker is another senior. That's kind of our energy guy, our energy spark, whether that be in practice, whether that be in games, whether that be in the locker room, and kind of keeps the morale high. Who's going to be I think personally, some of the reason we win some games. Like you need guys like that. So we got a great young core, and that starts with Jackson Pack, Ashton Evans, Mason Lowe, Kanan Howard, Gabe Varney, like a phenomenal young group. Like I said, the outlook of our team is special, and like I said, and it goes back to them being special kids and having coming from special families that allow us to coach them hard I'm really, really, really looking forward to see what this group can accomplish.
Well, we're excited about the 100th year of Belfry basketball. There's no question about that. And you get to naming folks, and you get to naming your players, and it looks like you have depth. For the first time, in my recent memory, that Belfry would have that type of depth and that type of size. And we talked about being able to throw the ball up to players, and how that you got some guys that looks you mentioned the Pack kid 6'7", and then Williams is a good sized kid. And am I missing somebody here in terms of size?
Bryce is I think Bryce has maybe got a little taller. I think he's a good 6'3", maybe 6'4". Brody I think has gotten taller. And
that length means something, doesn't it?
Yes, it means a ton. I told him the other day, we'll see what happens, but I think it would be, an understatement for us to, not lead the region in rebounding.
Yeah.
And that's a priority, and that's a lot of effort thing too. But, I think that, that needs to be one of our goals going into the year.
We had some guys back in the day that you could throw it up to. JJ was a great dunker, and Stephen Staten was, and then we had some big guys like Jim Dotson and Mark Williamson, folks like that. And so that depth and having that, and then Jim, unfortunately, in his senior year, the year that we made it to the quarterfinals, he had a season-ending knee injury. He was 6'10", and we still made it to the quarterfinals that year. Had a tremendous year, and that was a testament to our depth that we had at the post position. We had a guy by the name of Joey Pinson that came off and played tremendous for us down the stretch. And these memories come and go, and I don't want to leave any of my guys out, and I know you don't want to leave any of yours out, because that's what it's about, right? Ultimately, that's what we want. That's what we're about here at Courtside. We want the coach's perspective, but we want to highlight our young people that we're working with. And Coach, I just want to say I'm so impressed with the job that you've done to this point, and I fully expect great things ahead for Belfry basketball, and it puts a smile on my face as well as a lot of other people.
Absolutely. Thank
you. Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
I guess in closing, one thing we talked about is the lack of size in this region. There's not a ton of height across the board, one team. And, you mentioned these guys, Bo Williams, Jackson Pack, Bryce has got a little taller. Brody's already big kid himself. And, long, that could, put you all maybe off some teams' radar and right into region contention when it's all said and done. And, you go back to system versus dudes. You get some dudes to buy into a system, and you could be cooking. You could be cooking come March.
Sure.
And you look around the region. Who are some players outside of your own that you think maybe to look out for? From a coach's perspective, that you see that you like watching play, or maybe don't like going up against them, but some guys that you look forward to seeing this year on the hardwood.
I was able to watch. I'm truly impressed, and I think he's a really hard-working kid. I like Braden Shepard from Johnson Central. I think he's a really talented kid. I think he shoots at a really high clip. Obviously, our district opponent Tyler Weddington, he's a problem in itself. He just finds the ball, really high-level rebounder.
Led the state in rebounding last year.
Rebounding. So Jackson King shoots at a really high clip. And I was actually talking about this the other day with somebody. Like, the talent in our region right now is really,
that's a
really
great
special.
Point.
It really is. And that goes from, rankings are what they are. But, like, if you look at the top, 10 teams, like, the talent level is, phenomenal. So I'm excited to watch. We also have great coaches in this region that, that I, take stuff from and learn stuff from. So, I think it's going to be a great year in the 15th region. I really do. And I'm excited to see some of the players and some of the teams, and, obviously excited about our group. And I'm really looking forward to getting it started next Tuesday.
Well, and I'm glad you said that about the coaches, because this is, like I said, a coaching show, and we want to look through that lens every chance we get. But you have to be prepared every time you step on the floor in the 15th region. We have great girls and boys coaches across the board, and so it bodes for a great season. And I know Belfry's going to have a great season. We're excited for you, Coach, and we thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Indeed. And Coach Perry, thanks again. For me, I'm Zach Akers alongside Denny Palme and our special guest, Brent Perry. Tune in next week on Courtside, as we will have Pike Central head coach Al Holland. Until next week, we'll see you on the hardwood.